The winter fog hung heavy over London's East End in December 1811. The lamps along Ratcliff Highway glowed faintly through the mist, their light flickering on the damp cobblestones. Sailors returning from the docks shuffled by, their breath white in the cold air. In the quiet hum of that working-class neighborhood, life moved with weary routine. No one imagined that within days, those same streets would be soaked in blood. The Marr family at number 29, Ratcliff Highway, stood a small linen draper's shop. Inside, Timothy Marr, a young shopkeeper, worked late into the night with his wife Celia, their infant son, and their apprentice James Gowan. Christmas was approaching, and the Marrs were eager to serve the last few sailors who came by for clean shirts and fine linens. Shortly before midnight, a customer entered the shop, a man whose face would soon fade into infamy. After that, the quiet night turned to horror. Neighbors later recalled hearing strange noises, a heavy thud, a crash, then the faint sound of a cry. Cut short. When the knocking at the Marrs' door went unanswered, concern turned to dread. When the door was finally forced open, what they found would forever stain the memory of that street. Timothy Marr lay dead behind the counter, his skull smashed and his throat cut almost to the bone. Celia's body was found nearby, butchered with equal savagery. The apprentice James lay lifeless at the back of the shop, his head shattered, his neck gashed open. Even the baby boy had not been spared. Strangled in his cradle, his small body motionless amid the chaos. The weapon was found soon after, a shipwright's maul, a heavy hammer used by dock workers. It was stained with blood and hair. A few bloody footprints led toward the door, then disappeared into the London fog. The news spread like wildfire. Panic gripped the East End. Doors were bolted, people whispered of a madman loose among them. The Marr murders became the talk of the city, brutal, senseless, and utterly terrifying. But the nightmare wasn't over. The second attack 12 nights later, on December 19th, blood returned to Ratcliff Highway. At the King's Arms Tavern, just a short distance from the Marr's shop, innkeeper John Williamson, his wife Elizabeth, and their servant Bridget Harrington were found murdered in the same horrific manner, skulls smashed, throats slit. The only survivor was Margaret Jewell, another servant girl who had gone out to buy oysters and a candle moments before the killer struck. When she returned, she found the door locked and the windows dark. Inside, she could hear faint noises, then silence. By the time help arrived, everyone inside was dead. London was in a frenzy. 2 massacres, 12 nights apart, with the same brutal signature. The city was paralyzed with fear. Rumors spread of a demon, a sailor, a ghost of vengeance walking the streets of Shadwell. The hunt for the killer. The police scoured the docks, searching taverns and lodgings for suspects. Soon, a name surfaced, John Williams, a sailor lodging at the Pear Tree Inn, not far from both crime scenes. He had once known the Marr family, and his demeanor had turned strange since the killings. When officers searched his belongings, they found it, a shipwright's maul, smeared with what looked like dried blood. Williams was arrested, along with 2 acquaintances, and thrown into Coldbath Fields prison. The city waited for the trial. Finally, the monster would face justice. But before the trial could begin, Williams was found dead in his cell. He had hanged himself with a handkerchief tied to an iron bar. Was it guilt? Or a silencing? No one could say for sure. The grim finale. The public, desperate for closure, decided the matter for themselves. John Williams was declared guilty in death. His body was placed on a cart and paraded through the blood-soaked streets of Ratcliff Highway. Thousands watched in eerie silence as the cart rolled past the Marr shop and the King's Arms Tavern, the scenes of his supposed crimes. Finally, in a grim ritual meant to banish evil, his corpse was buried at the crossroads of Cable Street and Cannon Street Road, a stake driven through his heart. London exhaled, but uneasily. Some believed Williams was innocent, framed or forced into suicide. Others swore that justice had been done. Yet, long after his burial, strange tales began to circulate, of footsteps heard at night near the old Marr shop, of whispers in the fog, and a figure seen walking Ratcliff Highway with a hammer in his hand. Epilogue. More than 2 centuries have passed, but the legend remains. The Ratcliff Highway murders were among the first crimes to truly terrify an entire city, long before Jack the Ripper stalked Whitechapel. And on cold December nights, when the mist creeps low over the East End, locals still say they hear it, the echo of a hammer striking wood or bone.